Welcome to Catch the Moment podcast. I'm your host, David Tyree. Thank you for checking in another week where we're always going through the process, the journey, the pain points that's going to get you to your next moment. Listen, folks, I'm super excited. This is friends, this is family, and this is really a high caliber individual that's checking in with me. VP of NFL Development, 12 years in the National Football League. Roman Oben, thank you for checking in with your boy.
Thank you, brother. How you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Just in the lab, grinding. And, man, just excited to, check in with what's new. Actually, why don't we just actually start off there, man? Like, we're kind of approaching this 2022 NFL season. What's new for you? What's new in your life? I know what you're doing in your role, but, like, what are you excited about as we're approaching this season?
Well, just to see the, last year you saw people in the stadium, back in the stadium again.
Absolutely.
And now, I wouldn't say 2 years past pandemic, 2 years through the pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to seeing how, like, with the extra game, the 17-game season, how teams manage that. You look at additions to the practice squad. You got more practice squad guys now. And just seeing who comes back. Like I'm a Louisville guy, so
there you go.
I root for Lamar Jackson. I want him to, just that black quarterback leading an organization, leading a franchise. So I root for the young guy and just continue success, man. And I think personally, my youngest is in college now. So Andre's at Purdue. My older son is at Duke. He'll be a redshirt junior. So
nice.
We're empty now. We got my mother-in-law staying with us, so we don't have a completely empty house. But it's just going through those transitions in life and looking forward to it, man. Every year is a different year, as you know. So man, every year is different challenges.
It's funny because I used to hear your name. I come into the National Football League in 2003, and I used to hear Roman Oben. You were at that time. You were either through Tampa, Chicago. Like I said, 12 seasons in the National Football League. You're one of the rare individuals who got that double digit. Accredited to your resume. So with all of your, and there's so much to get into with you just in light of you still being within the NFL ecosystem, but you've had a lot of victories. You are a Super Bowl champion yourself with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What would you say has been your career defining moment?
I think
it could be in football, out of football. What's the most meaningful career defining moment if you had to choose one?
Well, I'll say in football, it would definitely be that 2002 season because the year before, so I was 4 years with the Giants, 2 with the Browns. I ended up signing a deal. I wanted to stay. Everybody wants to stay with the team that drafted him.
Doubt.
But, the money and different things and stuff. So
they let one slip.
Yeah, but then you go to a team. We were 3-13 one year. The next year, I think we were like 6-10. And then I signed a deal. Then I got cut. So. I was put up for as a what do you call it? Not franchise, but when the Texans came in, I got put up for the expansion draft.
Okay,
and so when the Texans didn't take me, then I got released. So I had a microfracture surgery in February, and then got released. So I'm rehabbing in Rutherford, New Jersey, somewhere off of Route 17, in some rinky-dink like rehab place.
Wow.
And it wasn't. It was a good place, but like
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And then so I'm working out and trying to. Without having the amenities of a facilities. And then I signed with the Buccaneers really like June 1st. 1 year minimum veteran deal with no guarantees. And then that's the year we won the Super Bowl. And then so when you talk about the change of your perception as a player, and you were, 6th round pick, you end up making a big catch yourself. But like 1 year you were a 3-13 football player on a bad team. The next year you were starting left tackle in the Super Bowl. And then you don't feel differently about yourself, but then the perception of you changes. So I said that was a defining moment. But then I think getting traded to the Buccaneers, to the Chargers, the San Diego Chargers at the time, in the 2004 season, which was a kind of a part of Eli trade. And now as an older player, going to a team that hadn't won in a while, and they had this great running back who, Dame Thompson, they got Drew Brees was unproven at that time. And they just drafted Phil Rivers. So that team went from 4-12 in 2003 to when I got there went 12-4. So
absolutely.
Being the veteran on a young team that's trying to win, because now I'm coming in with the experience of winning the Super Bowl. So again, that's perception.
Yeah.
Perception. So but those are great football defining moments. But obviously with 2 boys, one was born in Cleveland when I played for the Browns. The other one was born in Tampa. Yeah. Played for the Buccaneers. So that's always a good history. They both got 2 game balls with the team gives you a game ball when your kids are born. So
oh, nice.
You probably got a bunch of game balls.
Man, listen, New York Giants. I'm due for a
Where's
few
the game ball, man? Where's the game ball?
Skeebers, where y'all at?
Yeah. So but that's just going through that journey, man. And it's been great. I can't complain.
No, that's fantastic, man. All right, so I always got to ask every guest when they come on. All right, so the helmet catch. Where were you? What were your thoughts or any memories associated with the helmet catch?
So I was watching it. That was actually my last year in the league. Okay. And so we lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Yeah. So I definitely wanted the Giants to win.
It's fantastic. Everybody's like, yo, I'm so glad.
Yeah, because that Chargers team played the Patriots.
True.
LaDaine Thompson had an MCL. Phil Rivers had a partial ACL play, so the Chargers kicked 5 field goals and lost that game. So
yeah, there was wounded.
It would have been Chargers and Giants in that Super Bowl. And so when you caught the catch, it was the same thing. I was like, first I'm like, Dio got beat. I'm like, come on, man. And then Eli steps up and gets away from him and throws it. And then it was funny. I guess it was, I kept looking Rodney Harrison's leg, because if you don't land on his leg, that ball hits the ground.
And it's potential.
And so, and then Plax catches the touchdown. And one thing, I was really happy for Toom, especially because when they lost, and I'll be super % honest with you. So I left the Giants in '99 when they started the Giants, and then they changed the helmets.
And why?
So that Ravens game, I didn't want the Giants to win that game.
Oh, listen.
No,
that was one of the best
Super Bowl
moments of my life when the Giants lost that Super Bowl. Because I grew up I was a 49er fan. I grew up in that era.
Yeah.
And, I think it was like Leonard Marshall the hit. So that was like one of my best moments ever. I'm in college and Giants got pummeled. It was fantastic.
Yeah, so when the team lets you go and the next year they go to the Super Bowl, I mean, you're happy for your boys. I was happy for Amani Toomer and Strahan and Tiki, those guys. But it's like seeing a team do well without you.
Oh yeah.
And so that was a crazy moment. But then when I won the Super Bowl, I remember Toom was like, "Oh man, you got a ring, dude." I was like, "Man, hey, look, man, they got rid of me. What do you want me to do?" So, but when you guys won that year in 07, I said, now those 86 and 90 guys can shut up. Yeah. Because I always felt like when I came to the Giants through those lean years, 96, 97, 98, 99, and like my rookie year was 96. So that was a 10-year anniversary of the 86 team. So they came out there. We weren't very good. Dan Reeves was about to get fired.
It was shining.
So they always would puff their chest like, you guys aren't good football players. So when I was happy for the organization, because now you can shake that 86 and 90 like, oh, those are the best teams ever. No, I mean, those are good teams.
Those are great teams.
Organizations win.
Oh, absolutely.
So the organization found a way to get back to the Super Bowl, because that's what top, and they won it again 4 years later. So I was happy. I was happy for the organization when they won the Super Bowl.
Listen, those were some crazy times. You said it right. Amani Toomer, who he was in that organization and still was. It's all about the guys next to you. So I've always been intrigued. Like I think it's kind of well throughout your. You can find it. First Cameroon-born NFL player, right? That must be an interesting. Because I was thinking about you coming to the league in '96. Now it's like this massive thing, this massive influx of Africans in the NFL, and it's amazing how most of the African bred players who make it to the league are like beasts. Like I don't know what it is. It's just like, but short story. That's one thing that I think about. Like, what is that as a part for you? Was it ever something in your thinking? Because in '96 it wasn't in the conversation.
No, but like I think if you look just historically, so Civil Rights Bill was signed like 64. Okay. I think the Immigration Act was signed like 68. So you had a lot of immigrants coming in to the States, late 60s, early 70s. A lot of the Asians came in, built the bodegas and the corner stores in the urban areas. And a lot of African, were getting student visas to come to the States. So my generation of parents came here, we were born and then came into Africa, came to the States. So I didn't play football till 10th grade. And so when I ended up, then I got moved to O-line. I'm thinking I'm a D lineman. I'm 250 pounds. You're like, hey, you're gonna gain 50 pounds of being offensive lineman. I'm like, no, I'm not. My mom's like, hey, my baby's gonna gain 50 pounds. So the way it ended up, man, and I think as a kid, you grow up, all you knew about was Krishna Okoye, because he represented all the Africans.
Was it?
And watching him just run over people with that big high neck roll.
Nigerian Nightmare.
The Nigerian Nightmare. He was like inspiration to all of us.
He was.
And so,
until he met Steve Atwater.
Yeah. Yeah. All running backs have to meet their maker, you know. But, you know, it was inspiring to me. And the fact that I was an O-lineman, you know, and ended up getting drafted. And actually, my uncle's the one that told me, hey, you know, you're the first Cameroon-born player. And then someone, when I got to the Giants, someone, I think Hall of Fame archives or something, let me know that as well. So you're just grinding, and all of a sudden you just represent something that you didn't know you represented. So it was pretty cool.
Bro, it's pretty powerful because, like I said, it's great to see all the ethnicities. You know, I think the NFL has grown into this product where it has so much ability to amplify communities. There's so many layers to your journey, right? So who were the primary influences and motivation, right? You got the football, but I mean, number one, it's clear. You right now where you stand, even in your current career, your role, and how you've transitioned. You've transitioned well. Was it always that? And who were the people who really played a role in the shaping process that allowed you to, you know, have the career as well as transition into some of these opportunities? You
know, it was tough, man. I think you're always transitioning, number one.
There we go.
And I retired. So that 07 that season, now it's going into 08, and I'm like, I had one more year left. The Chargers, you know, Chargers released me. I had one more year left on my deal. They released me. Mm-hmm. And then you're like looking for like, okay, well, the Raiders want to sign me. Does somebody else out there need a veteran? Or
come on, Al, come again.
Yeah, I had an ankle foot injury that was severe, and so that training camp, I knew I was done. I did a coaching internship with the Ravens. That's why I knew I didn't want to coach. But I wanted to help my old O-line coach who was at Baltimore Ben when Harbaugh first got there. Okay. With that 08 draft with Ray Rice and Flacco and those guys. Nice. And so now it's summer, fall of 08, and like here comes a recession. And so I didn't think anyone was going to feel sorry for a former player trying to do something else when the whole country was losing their shirts and mortgages and housing. And now it was a real tough stretch because you wake up one day and it's whatever that date in September was. And I looked at my financials and I'm like, what the heck just happened? Yeah. And I wasn't the guy that wasted money and blew money in casinos and strip clubs. And I mean, that wasn't me, you know, but, and I mean, but like my financial guy was saying, listen, like you got to go within the 3 to 5 years, you need to try to go make $100,000 the best way you can. Yeah. And you should be able to do that with your brain. So I started, that summer, I collected all the business cards that I had collected over the last, 7, 8 years. Sure. I mean, I got a Ziploc freezer bag, right? The big one, the big gallon one. Yeah. And I just put on the table, okay, this person can help me. This person, I went through all of them. It was like almost 1,000, like an album worth. And it came down to like about 30 that I'm like, all right, it was Allison's thing to be. I called her. I said, hey, I'm back in the area. Because I felt some type of way about coming back to an area that I didn't play. I hadn't played in the Giants since 99. Yeah. Now it's 08. And I'm like, I didn't realize that once the Giant, always the Giant was really a thing. Yeah. And so like, oh, yeah, you could do appearances for us. You can come back. We have fantasy football thing you could do with us. And we're happy that because my wife's in New York. So we moved back in this area. And I grew up in D.C. So it was just one thing leading to another. I had my master's degree from Farleigh Dickinson when I played. Excellent. That was another milestone. I was the only player in a 10-year span that finished his master's degree during my career. So I was in grad school every offseason at Farleigh Dickinson. I got to look at the camera like, y'all don't know how hard that is. Like, that's a rare breed. Like the focus and intent that it takes to be successful during the season. And it's like I said, it's one thing to take a class, right? To finish a degree, but you actually got like. Yeah. No, it's the thing about because like I I'll always look at the Bardos. He was like my big brother. He was in law. He was like, oh, I was in law school during the season. I mean, you were like off season. I was like, dang, law school during the season. And then Perry Williams was a former Giant, and then I guess there was a relationship with Farleigh Dickinson because back then player development, which was what it was called. That's right. Had a program where every school, every NFL team has a university that they designate where you can go finish school. Yeah, like satellite school. So I was a 5th-year senior at Louisville, and I already had 9 credits of grad school when I got drafted. So I was like, at least I can finish in public. There was no sports admin back then, so it was public administration. People don't even think about it. It's like they don't think it's possible. Why do you think that is? Like, is it? And then we know how focused you have to be to maintain the edge.
But, you know, obviously I've worked in the player development space, and my thing is helping guys realize that this is actually going to stabilize your career by realizing that you're fortifying new skills.
Yeah.
And you could actually take a time to read, read for 30 minutes or get into an internship and figure out what you don't like. So what's your thought process, meaning like around the current player, how this idea of transitioning, and we're always transitioning, there's tons of resources available.
There are, and I think, and it's funny that to just give some clarity, like you remember the famous shut up and dribble.
Oh yeah,
with LeBron a couple of years ago. I grew up in that era, so I never wanted, Coach Fossil or any of those guys, Keith Ham. I didn't want any of those guys to think I cared about anything more than football. So I would 7 o'clock group with mother, and I'd leave. I'd go change in my car. Because this started when I was getting interviewed for the combine.
I got you.
Scouts were like, "You care about more things than football. You pledge.
This is a real thing.
You pledged Alpha. You're in a black fraternity. You have a high GPA. Like, how important is football to you?" I'm like, "Don't you want a smart football player, dude?" I said, "First of all, I'm an old lineman, so that you should want smart old lineman."
Absolutely.
And so just from that scrutiny, it made me feel some type of way. Like I wasn't telling people I was in grad school. I didn't tell anybody I was doing nothing. But then when I'm in grad school, I'm in a classroom. They're like, instead of it being, it's like, "Man, why are you getting your master's? You should be counting your money. You should be hanging out with superstars." So
it's so backwards.
This weird dichotomy where I was always living in two different worlds. So not telling people all these other things I was doing in the off season, and then these things I am doing, they're like questioning why I'm there. So it hardened me a little bit, honestly. And so when I look at, so I retire. 08, 5 years later, here comes the trust, 2013. Here comes Legends Community. Here comes all these resources.
Got it.
And I'm glad that players have all these resources now, but I think now there's a cross between here's all these resources, and now there's so much stuff that guys are confused a little bit.
It's true.
And then they need somebody to handhold them through all that stuff.
It's true. And I think that, the reality is that the resources are there, and people have to aspire to be more and do more and understand that they actually can. My thing is, hey man, you're not going to lose the edge because you're the best in the world when you step. The guys who get a chance to get on the green, you're the best in the world. You devoting a little bit of time and energy to figure out what you're not good at and hedge it. It's guys
important. Are encouraged. A 25-year-old player right now is encouraged. Brand build. What's my brand? At 25, it was like your ass better play so you don't get cut. that was our lives back then.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
it is a different world, and the current players should be celebrated because they have more information and they're using it. What would you say has been you're a leader especially in the sports space? What has been your greatest frustration in the leadership journey?
I think when you come from playing sports, when everything is black and white, like you prepare for the Cowboys and you win or you lose, you reevaluate, and then you line up again. Yeah. In the real world, there's just a lot of shades of gray, man. And there's a lot of shades of positioning and some of that stuff. Yeah. That's really not who we are, And that's why a lot of former players do better in sales.
There you go.
In those type of roles where, okay, here's my sales territory. I'm going to go sell my medical equipment. This is... I got 100 accounts. I did well with 70 of them. I'm going to focus on the next 30, then I'm going to redo it again. Bro. But in that whole positioning world, we don't know that world, man. That's the hardest part about leadership.
You said it perfectly. Yeah. I kind of have similar frustrations. And I had a great experience at the NFL office. And I'm pro NFL. I'm pro NFLPA because people are working hard, and it's not an easy task to bring opposite sides together with two different interests. And I think the resources are there, and there's a lot of consideration for our community. But the positioning, when you're a guy that's proven, like yourself, you're not full of ego. Everybody's got working out their own stuff. You actually expect to kind of get in there, and everybody's moving toward a common goal, and you recognize that.
I care about doing well, and I know you care about doing well, but now you're in a meeting do I need to listen today? Do I need to be Samuel Jackson today in the room? Do I need to be Brian Gumbel and just let them have it and then especially as a black male, you gotta pull out which Roman do I need to be today for this situation.
And then a big black male, especially when you go into different environments where you could just be threatening, and even not racist threatening, meaning people don't know how to respond. Man, that's definitely
because I'm gonna be 6'4", 280 pounds every time I walk in a room.
Yeah.
And so, and I own that.
No doubt.
Know, but like, I can't worry about you feeling uncomfortable because I'm
me.
Yeah, like that's not my problem. That's your problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But we've been through both. We've both been through that. So I know you get it for sure.
Bro, I totally get it. I'm glad you talked because it is a common conversation in traditional business environments. We talk about positioning because positioning isn't a bad thing, but it can create unhealthy culture when you have, tons of ego and impure motives.
And everything doesn't work the same for everybody. Every rule doesn't apply to the same people.
There you go.
Yeah.
And most people, football kind of shows you that, right? Because you have superstars. You have people who, they have a little bit more leash.
Yeah.
And you kind of understand that. Whereas in our world of equality and what people believe about equality, it creates a lot of challenges, man. You talked about some of the frustrations or some of the challenges and, even emotionally. Was there anything that you weren't prepared for transitioning out of the NFL?
The only thing I wasn't prepared for, so it was summer of '08, and we're going to church. It's like that week of July 25th when training camp starts. And then, and I think I've said this publicly, like, and I just started crying. We're just driving to church. My wife said, what the hell's, I was like, I'm not, there's nothing to prepare for. Like, I'm either like, I'm trying to fight off a first round pick. I'm trying to fight off, am I going to make the team this year? I mean, I'm always trying to fight for something. I was like, there's nothing really to fight for like that. I didn't have an enemy.
Woo!
And for 12 years of my life, I always had an enemy. And I always had the same, Albany, the same shirt, the same shirt I wear. O-line, you had to wear the same shirt every day just to be nasty. Whatever that ritual was, like that, you were always ready for a fight, and then there was nothing to fight anymore. So then I started being competitive about everything. So like, if you had to get to the bus at 7:30, I'm there at 7:15. So I'm gonna be the first dad at the school bus, or I'm gonna be the parent that signs up for everything. Or I'm gonna be I just started creating all these competitions with everything I was doing, and it really wasn't healthy. It was like, okay, like stop trying to prove yourself all the time. So some of that competitiveness, I think it's healthy in football, but it's unhealthy sometimes if you try to manage your whole life by Tom Coughlin's itinerary and where you need to be at every minute. It's hard. It's hard to do that.
That thing hit home. So we talking about real players, but ultimately real men. And I think we all get unmasked in regard to the I wouldn't even call it traumatic because my identity wasn't so deeply rooted as a player. It was just some areas that I wasn't prepared for. That it's like when you go from being the best at something to, oh snap, what am I going to be? What am I even good at? Right? Because that takes intention, that takes repetition. That's all the things that it took for you to be the best in the world as a player. You go into a world now and you have to determine how you're going to be just as good in your mind.
Yeah, I wanted to say too, Stacey Robinson, I would say from the PA. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
He was a mentor of mine because he gave me the best advice.
Really?
And he said
I'm
that
about to say give it to us.
He said that sometimes it's okay to know what you don't want to do. And as a player, you're always looking for that. It's like you're waiting for the parade, this great float. It's like, okay, and sometimes some guys can do everything well. Okay, well, maybe you do well in medical sales. Well, here, no one's shown me that path. Maybe you're doing commercial real estate. Yeah. And at some point, you didn't know what that was going to be.
Sure.
And Stacey said, look, you may have to just take a job making $45,000 and just learn what to do and then grow, and then that'll lead you to something else. And 40 becomes 60, becomes 80, becomes 120, becomes 150. I mean, and he said it's going to take you 5 to 7 years after football.
Welcome
I said
to the
5
real
to
world.
7 years. I said, I'm thinking about 18 months. And so he was right, though. So from 2008 to like 2013, that's about how long it took. And every year was like an evolution of the and I wrote a blog, and it was in the Washington Post.
Oh, fantastic!
It was 6 days, 2 lives, 2 deaths. So that May of 2012, I said, Junior Seau commits suicide. Stacey Robinson dies the same week. And then I wrote a blog and I said, everyone's like, Junior's a CTE, but I'm like, Stacey Robinson. I said, when the Stacey Robinsons retire, or the Roman Obens and Dave Tyrees, the guys that fight their way for 7-8 years, or like there's not even a blurb on ESPN. It's like the life moves on. So we still got to go lead our families and stuff like that. And I get
big respect.
She was talking about it because like that's real stuff. Like we all got to pick up our lives when the machine goes on. And
that's right.
There's another 72 jersey.
Yeah.
There's another 83 or 85 jersey wearing that, and you got to still deal with your life. So that's the part that they don't show you in the manual.
Man, I get chills because that's the meaning. Like when I think about what makes a great team, of course, the focal point will always be on the superstars. Yeah. But it really is the guys who have the resolve to understand, like, you know, I knew my role within my team and throughout my career as a special teams player. I was a stabilizer. You need the base of players like that, players like Roman Oben who are going to be consistent. You were a starter. You had ascended through the ranks and earned those rights, but it wasn't a guy that was, you know, super sexy, right? And they are the less celebrated, but they're actually the guys that form the foundation of great teams. Yeah. So when you think about the Stacey Robinsons and how these players and their legacies, you know, when we talk about the legacy of a great team, is because you have the character and the DNA of these guys who understand their roles, right? It's powerful, man. It's just powerful stuff, man. So help us understand, right? Like, 'cause there's I think there's a lot that goes along. I know there's a lot that goes along with your responsibility. What are your primary responsibilities in your current role? And how, you know, just not a State of the Union, but like, you know, how did you find yourself here? Because, you know, I feel like you when you were talking about finding your way through the 5 years, I'm like, man, Roman Oben more popular in Montclair, New Jersey than I am. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they get it out of me in Montclair, man. I got to coach football. I'm showing up at people's events.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, man, if there's I could be having 20 things to do and there's a game on the field, I'm gonna pull over. I'm gonna go in there for about a half.
But it's really because you've been that active. You've earned the right by way of, when I think about football development, you've been around the game at every layer, actively involved. Yeah. And obviously you've been a dynamic professional involving and being credible in the marketplace. So, like, you know, give us just a general idea of what that role entails and what your responsibilities are leading your team.
So I came in the league office 2014, like fall of 14, fall winter 14, and then
I came out. You came in.
Yeah. So and I'll go back. I have a story about that too. Before after this. Director of Player Health and Safety, you know, the concussion discussion was really at a point where former players were saying they wish they didn't play football, the concussion law, all that stuff was going on. So they needed to just reshape the way they talked about concussions in youth football, because there was a fear that people weren't going to play football in 20 years, that the game was going away. So we did research on participation. We shared that research with all the clubs. And then I helped create a different way of talking to all the clubs, more specifically about football-driven initiatives. So there was CR, and everything was generally under community relations.
Sure.
And so I helped pull that away, youth football away from CR, where it's engaging the youth, high school community, and engaging coaches. And so I helped create a strategy so every NFL team, similar to the player engagement person, every NFL team's youth person, like Ethan at the Giants or whomever, kind of, we do the yearly summits, we do all those things. So I helped build that at the league office. Excellent. And then from a broader football development standpoint, I also have college relations under me. So how we talk to colleges, you've done some speeches at Boston College, at Syracuse, and those kind of places. We built a digital platform about educating the student athletes about the draft, about draft preparation. But because of social media, you could be ho-humming along at Cuse. Here comes an agent DMing you, I can get you in the first round if you leave this year. You know, so there's a lot of information out there, and at some point the student athlete doesn't trust the school anymore. And so we try to come in and say, this is the real, this information is available to everybody, not just this agent reaching out to you. The numbers are slotted in terms of financial salary. Whatever the third round pick made at 66 pick overall, which was me, the next one is going to make about 7% more than that. So there's no, just taking the guesswork out. And then there's also a responsibility with all the partners, the Gatorade, Nike, and making sure that they're driving the deliverables on their sponsorship have a youth or high school carve out in them, so that everyone is Wilson, Riddell, so just kind of managing all that. So depending on the day, I got 10 different jobs.
You're busy, bro. You're busy. High level. What would you see, like, in light of that? You know, hanging out with you recently, myself, Bardos. What do you say is the greatest needs today for the current athlete? Like, you're in this space, the world has changed. Technology has played a role. Parents have played a role. The machine and what the product has become. What is like some of the base level needs for these guys who are evolving as high performing athletes?
Well, I think it's because when I got done, so 08, 09, you know, and then like me, Sam Madison, like Toom, and when we all got done. Now it's 2010, and we're trying to figure it out.
Sure.
And it's funny. So 5 years later, here comes Deal. Cruz is done. Here comes safety. I forgot his name. Lord Jesus.
Safety?
Not Dion. Others. Someone Roll.
Oh, Antrell.
Yeah, Antrell. So that now 2015, 2016. So when I saw these guys coming out, I said, look, just first of all, make sure your finances are in order.
Yeah.
Make sure your taxes and things that you signed up for, just take a year just evaluating everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, think about what you're passionate in.
Yeah.
And then there used to be this path where, and I bought into it, I'm going to do TV for ESPN and make $400,000 or $500,000 and just kind of do that. No, but like everybody doesn't get those opportunities.
You sure don't.
And then I made a decision like, I'm not going to let who I was as a player determine what I do off the field, because it does become a popularity contest on
100% media.
Yeah, I mean, guys are walking off the field and getting multi-million-dollar jobs based on who they were, because you're a quarterback. And God bless them. If you can get that bag on TV, go get it. Go get it. But I think
it is a name brand.
Yeah, but you need to start somewhere and then say, where do I need to be in 3 to 5 years? You know, and some people believe in vision boards and all that stuff, but just hold yourself accountable about how you're moving within that 2-3 years after football, because we both know guys that went through their career, no issues, and then, you know, here comes the divorce, here comes the financial issues, here comes trusting the wrong people. All the things you didn't pay attention to catches up to you. Here comes you signed something, now you get sued. I'm like, well, wait, now why am I getting sued? I didn't, you know, so I just say players are making a lot more money, but at the rate of which you can make a bigger mistake financially. Yeah. I mean, yes, my first house in Clifton cost $175. Yep. Today's house is $900,000. You know, so I made a $175,000 mistake. A recently retired guy can make $1 million. I mean, it's still relatively about the same. You just got to make sure you're really paying attention to things that you may not have paid attention to. Within that immediate year to two when football's over.
Definitely having the right expectations, and even like I said, even for the emerging, you know, like these young guys who are 22, they have different challenges coming into the league. Yeah, you know, I think self-awareness is the highest priority for emerging generation. I mean, like I called self-awareness my superpower. I mean, like the only reason why I got into the NFL is because I got to college and I was able to say I'm good. Some of these guys are just more talented than me. Like, you know, sometimes the athlete mindset, you have to believe so much in yourself and your ability that it creates a little bit of a blindness toward how good you really are. You know, like, and so what do you say for, like, I think we spoke to some of these guys, for the guys who are the legends, right? We have, like I said, there's so many different, me and you, we kind of on the same wavelength in relation to, there's a practical element that we all can do. Yeah. We all have had some measure of a head start by virtue of our experiences in the National Football League and maybe the resources, right? Not everybody has the flashy career. Not everybody has a helmet catch. I can't help you, right? Like, not everybody has a 12-year career. But a lot of us, 2-3 years in, there starts to be a well of resources. So the NFL legend, whether you're, you know, what would you say are some of those most practical steps in how we can provide this? Talking about planning, preparation, having right expectations. You know, like what are the most immediate things that our community can do to continue to evolve, grow, and establish success?
I think you need to just make sure you know that you don't have to choose one resource over another. It doesn't have to be the trust versus what the Legends community is doing. It doesn't have to be the PA versus what the NFL. Now, like whatever 800 number can help you, especially now with mental health. Some of those, you get 12 free visits with the mental health person under Cigna.
For every issue. This is a powerful conversation.
Per member of your household.
Per member of your household. The NFL resources are like never ending. I tell people all the time.
If you got 7 kids and a wife, that's what, 28?
I missed my Cigna.
That's 36 issues. You know that you can you know. So there's that. There's also
I'm gonna come under your house because I missed my Cigna PPO. You know what I'm saying?
But they got with the new CBA, they had some stuff they put back in, like Preferred Hospital Network.
Yeah,
some of those things. And also just, I mean, I have a free YMCA membership because of the trust. That YMCA on Park Street.
Yes, sir.
I don't have the gym membership anymore because I didn't pick it back up after the pandemic. I do my Peloton stuff.
Yeah,
and then I go to the YMCA two nights a week whenever I can get there. So there's resources available, and then once you scrub everything available, and even NFL alumni,
There you go.
There's percentages off in certain services. You get free golf lessons.
Yeah.
You almost need to create a matrix of things that are available to you.
Sure.
And figure out what works against what your activity level is and what you really need.
Yeah.
Because it can become confusing. So I think that's the and don't ever be afraid to call a former teammate. Hey man, this pension stuff, man. What do you? Hey man, don't be afraid to ask somebody for help. And that's something we don't. We either suck it up and don't go to the doctor.
Message.
Yeah, no. Like, call your brothers up. Somebody knows something.
I mean, and this. Although we're speaking specifically about the sports community, but this is for everybody, right? Yeah. Like when we get out of the headspace of the allure of sports, this is how humans tend to operate. Yeah. There are typically a little bit more resources, which if I'm partnering with somebody, I want to partner with resourceful people, right? Resourcefulness is actually a skill, right? Being able to find resources that are available. It's like a college kid looking for scholarships. Yeah. Like, so
people
many
get paid to look for grants. And I mean, there are companies that look for that on behalf of people.
Pay people to look for grants
and
write grants.
Yeah.
So like when we talk about the real world, the reality is most of these resources are available, mental health resources, transition resources, but ultimately it's about a phone call. Who would you who's within your ecosystem? Because, I value you as a leader, as a mentor, even though, like I said, we're not so far stretched, but when I love people who are kind of like, they know their value, but they don't have so much ego where it's like, okay, this might take some time. So that's what, when I saw you from a distance coming back into the area, like, man, this dude's just grounded, and I always love that. So
I appreciate that, bro.
Who like I said, you mentioned Stacey King. Is there anybody else? Is it your wife? Because I think it's really so important for people to identify the people who are adding that value. Because none of us become who we are apart from significant others.
Yeah, no, I definitely recognize my wife, Linda. She was my last year in the league. She started law school, so she's preparing for the bar. I mean, the
Beast.
LSAT and all that stuff, and then she ended up becoming she was a prosecutor for 9 years in Hudson County, and then she's works at a firm now in Newark. So I think she delayed graduating from college the traditional way and all that for me. So I had to return and support her as a law school student. So I'm going through transition at 08, 09, 10.
Yeah,
she's in law school.
Freaking love it.
So I was transitioning and serving my family because that's your number one.
There you go.
Is to serve your family.
There you go.
And make sure your kids are good. And I think one thing about the sports business, it doesn't lend well to the family environment, And I think most people go to work, come home 7 o'clock, have dinner, that's. It's
so great to hear you say that though. Sometimes we're afraid. They feel like we're bashing. It's like, no, we just have an unhealthy culture of hard work that kind of it exposes some liabilities, marriages and children.
I played for coaches that slept in the office and their families suffered for that.
Yep.
But I also played for coaches that, look, family's more important than any of this stuff, but then don't take it for granted.
There you go.
There's a balance there.
It is.
And so nothing will be worth my kids at 25, 30 years old looking at me and I'm 70 to my, oh, Dad, you didn't prepare me for this. Or you focused on yourself and not on us. And now my life is messed up because I don't want that on my head, man. I don't want that, Coach.
I don't think you have to.
But my wife is important, instrumental. But I think I was always, I was never afraid to just be out there, man. And I think I didn't look to other people because sometimes you get to a point where I don't know if this sounds right, but when you realize Santa Claus isn't real and you got to more look inward versus looking towards someone to help.
Excellent.
If you need information, I got you on information. But sometimes guys need the information plus you to do it for them, plus you to show them how. No, bro, I can't give you from 08 to 22. You gotta find your own journey, but I can give you the path of what I did. And if it works for you, it works for you. But I give guys a lot of advice and they just go do something else anyway. And they get calling back 6 months later. I said, well, did you do that? Nah, man, my bad, man. I didn't even follow up on that. I'm like, come on, bro.
And this is so.
And I'm not bashing nobody.
No, this ain't no bash. This is. I think we got to be honest about our community. That we have been served well, and it hasn't served us well, right? It's kind of like when you're so good at something, that's where the overcompensation and it ends up maybe undercutting some of the grip that it's like the Bart Oates of the world. I mean, their off seasons were different. These guys worked in the off season.
Yeah.
The resources weren't there. That the league wasn't what it was back then. So they were real men And we're arriving, the product is so immense, the resources are there, where football's an all year round business. And so we have more boys. Right?
Yeah. I mean, the best quote I've heard from someone in office, there's no work-life balance. It's only work-life integration. Like, so how do you integrate your family? And you can't be at every single thing your kids have at school, nor do you need to be at every meeting that you're on an email in. So you got to figure out how that integrates so you're still being yourself and you're not chasing the event or chasing the activity, and you still have some control over your life. So that's the advice I would give, man, more than anything. Like, integrate everything in a way that you still control what you can control so you can feel good about how you're serving.
Powerful. All right, so boom, we got back on this. I got to get this story from you. So I move out the league office in 2014, take the Giants, and you move over to the NFL office. Yeah. What was rocking over there? I remember when Charles Wade came over there. It was an interesting situation.
I submit my resume to Troy Vincent, the HR, and then Jerry Reese calls me. He said, "Look, COA just went to the league office. You know, we have a player engagement position. I'm thinking about you and one other guy who would be good. You know, we watched the way you moved, the way I was doing TV radio for the Giants at that point." And I was like, look, I don't, at the age I was then, so I'm 42.
Sure.
I said, I don't know if that's how I want to serve right now. I said, but I think Dave Tyree would be an excellent person for that role. Like, honestly. And it's like, and I know that's the only other person you're thinking about. He goes, "Yeah, you're right." I said, "Well, I need to make a decision. You know, training camp starts next week." I'm like, "Jerry, I'm not on your schedule. I don't work. You're not my GM anymore. You're just calling me. You need to make a decision by tomorrow." I'm like,
legendary.
Yeah, so call DT up, man. He's gonna do a great job.
Fantastic, bro.
So he was, and then you became the, and then I ended up, so you left, went to the Giants, and I ended up at the league office. So
that was fantastic.
Yeah, so
bro.
It was crazy. I don't know if I ever told you that story.
No, never. Listen, that's the stuff that means the most to me as an individual, when somebody can speak to you as a person and as a professional and say he can get the job done for you. So, like I said, for both of us, we've been a part of some amazing organizations. We've been within championship caliber culture, and we've definitely taking the grind route, but with gratitude, disposition. So, man, I really want to honor you, salute you, man. Congratulations on the work that you continue to do. And last question I'll ask is, what do you want to be the defining legacy of Roman Oben?
One, I was a servant. Honestly, served my family. I believed in what I was doing, and then I think you just have to create disciplines in your life, and then family, yourself, how you manage. I mean, all those disciplines, and that creates, and that you strive for greatness. Yeah. So hopefully, I was a disciplined person. I was someone you could rely on, and then I was a servant. I mean, if you could say that in 2 lines on my tombstone and whatever, maybe small fonts or something. Hopefully, that's what they say about me. Man,
you're paving a pathway. You're certainly getting great done, and thank you for checking in and catching the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, Roman Oben, this guy is paving a pathway for the culture within the NFL ecosystem. I need y'all to listen up, continue to check in, but even more so, like, subscribe, share these bars. This is about life, the process, the journey. You heard even some of the real pain, the real experiences that we're going through as humans, but every single one of us, we're determined and we're destined to get great things done. Thank y'all for tuning in with Catch the Moment podcast. Talk to you soon.